Humans tend to be unaware of them, but the spirits they create can be deeply disturbing. On the planet of Ectopio, the 75th UGM fleet had made its landing, and the leader of the fleet, Admiral Alex J. Winston, was on their way to visit the planet's representative diplomat. "I've heard many good things of this human admiral," said the Ectopian Prime Minister Betelgeuse. "I've heard it said that they were the individual who ended the last Empire War." "This is quite the momentous occasion, then," replied Ambassador Casper. "We must show them the utmost gratitude and respect. After all, without them, we would still be under the Coalition Empire's reign." "I've heard that humans can create apparitions from their life experiences and memories," said Prime Minister Betelgeuse. "I wonder what spirits the Admiral has created? With their reputation, I'd imagine they'd have very noble apparitions," replied Ambassador Casper, "ones befitting an individual such as themselves." As the two diplomats discussed their hypotheticals, an Ectopian guard entered the room with a look of horror on their face, their eyes holding back tears and their hands and head shaking. "Good ghost, my lad. Is everything all right?" asked the Prime Minister. "Sir, the Admiral has, arrived," said the guard with a shaken voice. "Oh, that's wonderful," replied the ambassador. "Please, please, send them in." "Yes, sir," replied the guard with a grim look on his face, as tears began to roll down his cheeks. "Are you all right there, lad?" asked the Prime Minister. "Sir, once I've sent them in, may I be relieved of my duties for the evening?" "What for?" asked the Prime Minister. "Has something occurred at home, lad?" "Please, sir, may I be relieved of duty for the day?" the guard asked once more. "You may," replied the ambassador. The guard looked up from the ground as more tears began to roll down their face, their legs almost giving out in relief from the ambassador's response. "Thank you, sir," said the guard as they collected themselves and left the room. "Now, what was that all about?" asked the Prime Minister. "He looked like he had been lost in the depths of space." "Perhaps he had received bad news," suggested the ambassador. "Well, whatever was happening to the poor lad, I hope he'll be shipshape tomorrow," said Prime Minister Betelgeuse. "He seemed to be afraid of retrieving the Admiral. Did you notice how he—" The ambassador began to trail off as he had began to notice the temperature in the room become colder. The two Ectopian diplomats began to see their breath before them, while the water placed at the table was slowly being engulfed in frost. Just then, the twin doors of the office had begun to open. Emerging from them was Admiral Alex J. Winston, who was followed by a grisly sight. Surrounding the Admiral was several specters of dead soldiers covered in large shards of glass shrapnel, many of which were missing parts of their bodies. Flying above the soldiers were phantom vultures, all with bone wings and blood oozing from surgical wounds. Walking directly behind the Admiral was a gargantuan ink-black falcon with a skeletal face, devil-like horns, glass-like eyes, and large claws, the shape of knives. "Good evening, gentlemen," said the Admiral with a smile. The Prime Minister and Ambassador stared at the specters that surrounded the Admiral, their eyes carding from soldier to bird to beast and back to the Admiral. As the Admiral sat down, the phantoms that surrounded them grew more and more intense, their transparent bodies becoming more opaque, and the faces of every ghost became more recognizable. As the scene grew more darker intense, and the ghosts became less peaceful in their idle nature, a small alarm began to ring from the Admiral's wrist, as they pulled out a segmented rectangular box out of their pocket, opened up a single segment, and consumed the several pills that they had dumped into their hand from the one compartment. After the Admiral consumed their medication, the violent phantoms surrounding them had began to slowly disappear one by one, leaving behind only a few new spirits, a pair of white-shelled crabs, one small and lanky, the other large and bulky, a small and spiky sea anemone that sat atop of their shoulder, clinging to the Admiral's arm with care not to poke them. A white and red-colored Hercules beetle that took great care in watching the Admiral's actions, and a small orbiting star that gleefully spun around the lanky crab. "Sorry about that," said Admiral Alex. "That was just my medication alarm. Wouldn't want to begin these negotiations without those in my system." The ambassador and Prime Minister looked at each other, silently reflecting on the terrifying scene they had just witnessed, before they turned their attention back to the Admiral. Yes, of course. Where should we begin?" sheepishly said the ambassador.